Puerto Rico.
Hey everyone, welcome to XYZ DAO project call number 3. And yeah, that's right, we're calling it XYZ DAO now. Elephant in the room, we are switching up the branding on everyone and we're sticking with Universe, but I'll let Tyler go over some of these new branding changes. They were almost absolutely necessary and he can explain why in a little bit more detail why we had to make those switches.
Yeah, I mean, the highest level thing is there is another project called like Keck Token. It's a DeFi project that is getting like a relative amount of hype. And I don't want to run into the same thing of like bond is barn bridge. Like in that scenario, we like actually had the token ticker first and talked to other teams that were trying to like came out after us and started saying they were going to use the bond ticker. And one of them essentially just tried to vampire attack us. And it's kind of been a pain in the ass. Like Coinbase wallet shows like the wrong bond. A couple people have like bought the wrong bond and come in our Discord and complained about it. So since like out of respect for this other Keck token, even if like it's not like a huge project, but like I respect other teams that are building and they didn't know about us. I think it existed before we even started calling ourselves Keck DAO.
It looks like it launched about December 2020, so about 4 or 5 months old.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, a big thing is out of respect for that team. Like, I think it's the right thing to do. But also, like, aside from that, it's just a better decision anyway. This is like a pretty easy decision to make because even like some of the people in our Telegram threads, like people that I talk to, there's just a lot of like names going on. It's like, oh, it started out as one thing, now it's Keck DAO and it powers Universe, and Universe is non-fungible Universe, and Universe XYZ is the website. So we decided that it's like the domain name is going to be universe.xyz. It's just a lot easier. We went through a couple different names, like we had just like internal votes, and we decided that XYZ was a cool name for the token. There's nothing that's being used in that capacity. Like I think there's like a project on Stellar, but it's not on Ethereum. So we wouldn't have like the wallet issues and things of that nature anyway. And that project's dead. Like it was from like, it was like a 2017 ICO that just, there's nothing in their GitHub, etc. So like, as of right now, we're the only XYZ token. So I think that it's going to be easy for people to know, like, you know, what the right token is. We don't have to get into XYZ is Universe unless someone vampire attacks our token name the way they did with Barnbridge. But it won't be our fault or our like responsibility in that scenario. There's nothing we can do to stop that. And yeah, it just keeps everything very easy for the community, for people, new people coming in. Because if some of like our like seed round investors, like contributors, even core team, like everybody is just like getting mixed up in this tongue twister of all these different names. So we just truncated everything to universe.xyz. You can call it universe xyz, and the XYZ DAO, and then there's the XYZ token. So it's just a lot more straightforward, all the different moving parts.
Yeah, and I think it sounds a little bit better. It's a little bit more exciting. XYZ is just pretty cool.
Yeah, and honestly, like since it is getting into the media side, like I mean, the whole thing around Keck, like I'm a big believer that like Keck is not like a racist term. I did even more research into it. It started from a Korean, like on a Korean keyboard, they can't type laugh out loud, so it comes out as Keck. So like in international gaming communities, Keck just literally means laugh out loud, and I don't know like when it became racist. So like there is like, you know, still that vibe in our project of like not being racist and taking back some of the things that were like, you know, originally taken from us by people doing the wrong thing with like internet memeology. But as we've started to work with like higher and higher groups and like NFTs have gotten more and more prominent, I don't want to like offend anybody just off the rip and like not be able to work with like some groups because they just inherently see that and think that it's like not what we're intending to do with it. So I think like kind of moving on from like our original origins and having a more buttoned up approach at the jump, like it's probably better for the project as a whole. But yeah, I mean, this wasn't a decision that we wanted to make. It set us back a little bit. We had to do a ton of branding work, like redo a ton of stuff. It wasn't like a light lift or something we took lightly. But at the end of the day, like there's way more reasons to make these changes than to not. And honestly, the end result is way more dope in my opinion. I agree with Mark.
Yeah, and about the branding, I mean, we've finally gotten everything switched over, and honestly, we were really hoping to launch the website this week, but with those branding setbacks, it's looking like we will for sure be launching sometime next week.
Yeah.
And about the website, that is almost done, and that was our main setback, was branding changes. So just expect us to be making some announcements next week and be pushing that live sometime next week. We still need to kind of fix the in-betweens. There's always stuff that doesn't work properly when you're spinning the website. Always like small.
I think the most important part, Mark, is the documents. The community always, they need to see the docs, right?
Yeah, well, don't worry. We'll have the doc. That's one of the main things that we actually were waiting for to launch the site as well, was getting the docs finalized so that once the site is launched, everyone has access to the docs. They can finally read them. And
We got to read the docs, man. We need the docs. The docs
Troy,
have got to be released.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the docs and time?
Yeah.
The docs?
Yeah. So the documents are ready, but we're not ready to release them just yet. Okay. So you're going to need like another couple days. We have them. They've been secured. They're ready to go, but you're not getting them just yet. Okay. But they're coming. No, but all joking aside, the documents have actually been signed off by the lawyers. We're ready to put it out. We're just waiting on some of the images that go into it, just so it's official release and everything. So I expect it like probably to launch with the website. So probably in the later half of next week. Let's just say that. But the docs have been secured.
That is exciting news.
Now people are going to start asking for the blueprints in the Discord.
That's all right. We got blueprints coming too.
Show me the blueprints.
Okay, so one other thing that we want to mention today is obviously the token name is changing, as Tyler mentioned, along with the branding. We are changing it to XYZ. And I would also like to talk about a little bit of the distribution of the XYZ token. And Dragos and Troy, do you guys want to talk a little bit about how the yield farming and distribution is going to go about?
So, I mean, we're gonna go ahead with the yield farming and the DAO, launch those and distribute the token in that manner. I mean, I not distribute for the DAO, but for the yield farming, obviously. And I also think there's going to be some airdrops. I don't want to talk much about that. I think, Troy, if you want to take that topic, all good.
I can do it actually. I feel like I have the most clarity on this. So I think that we said the names of the tokens last week that we were launching with for like yield farming in order to distribute the token. Again, that's to like align ourselves with like a lot of those like deeper like DeFi communities. Basically like putting up certain tokens so that people can get involved in the project. The airdrop stuff, we talked about it like on a lot of the original calls and even like the first Discord when we like launched all of this. So what I'll like say about the airdrops is there's two like separate airdrops. There's a community's discretionary airdrop that's probably going out to like 100 people at this point who have like helped the project along the way. There's also like there's like core contributors, which I guess you could just call like team. There's like the original contributors that put up ETH like when we were not even this project, but just like basically helped like launch the community. And then there's also the contributors that were like reseeded the project. And so like just separating airdrops from contributors, because those will all contributor stuff will be on like vesting contracts. The airdrop stuff, instead of doing it into vesting contracts, one of the things we're looking at is I talked with like Andre from Opium, which is like a kind of new and up and coming DeFi protocol. A lot of people know what Opium is. But basically, when they launched their token on the DeFi side, one of the things that they essentially did and to like reward early stage people that helped with the project, there's kind of like a chicken and egg that like they helped along a 3 or 4 month period, and then like they may have gotten involved in other things. So you basically are like, well, we drop all of these out. You don't want to like immediately have this scenario that everybody like doesn't know what to do with it, or there's all sorts of like game theory that goes into these things. So they dropped something called Dr. Opium, and the way it essentially worked, and it's all open source, similar to like all of our yield farming contracts and DAO contracts at Barnbridge. So it's not a huge lift we're looking at it. We think we're going to do it this way, but we don't know 100% because we do need to make sure that there's not some major lift or build that we need to do. But I mean, they're audited, that like there's been tons of money transacted in these Dr. Opium contracts. Like they're safe in that capacity. And so basically like you earmark wallets to that are eligible for the airdrop, and like how much they're essentially getting, because there's not only those 100 people that have helped along the way that are the discretionary airdrop, there's also like all of the people in the Discord that we essentially kept track of during those times that have really honestly still been in there banging out, like waiting and seeing what was going to happen. And so the way it works is the way Dr. Opium works, and we'll rename it for our thing. But basically, like the first people who claim down from that contract, they get essentially like penalized for being like the early ones to claim. And then on the other end of the equation, Andrei's like a Russian math genius. I think Stani told me that he was the #1 student in Russia for mathematics, like coming out of high school. So he has this bonding curve that he built this thing on, that like, let's say there's 3,000 people that are involved in this airdrop. Like the 3,000th person to actually ever claim from the airdrop will end up getting like 2,000% more tokens than the very first person that claims from it. So it's essentially just a way you can either let it sit there, but the funner part about the game theory, in my opinion, is that we'll also have yield farming going on. So you'll kind of have to game against the community, and then also just monitor what like the APY rates are on all of the yield farming to essentially figure out like, do I want to sit there and wait to have that additional percentage, or do I want to start to claim it now? And it'll be a unique decision for every person involved. So it's basically just a fun way to handle the way that we're going to do the airdrops, as opposed to just airdropping to a bunch of people's wallets, which is not that fun.
Yep. And so that's the airdropping, and on the yield farming, we're gonna do with 7 tokens, right? We're gonna launch with that. I think we're gonna keep those. Should we save those tokens, or should we just like hold them until we release? What do you think?
I think I said it before. It's not bad if we tell people, because like I mean, people have to, if people really want to get into this, then I think it's good that it's good they know if like all they do is listen to this call, right? So I think we know what the answer is yes. I don't know what I'm doing. Do you
Yeah,
have them in front of you? Because I can try to
Yeah.
get off the top of my
No,
head.
it's Aave, Bond, Comp, Synthetics, Sushi, Link, and IOV. I cannot really say that because
That's
Flash, but
Illuvium. So that's like an NFT project from
there you go.
Kane Warwick from Synthetics, who's been pretty much supportive of all of our projects up to this point. His brothers, Aaron and Kieran, which a funny joke about that is that Kieran is basically Kane and Aaron mixed together, and he's the youngest. So I think his parents just gave up naming their kids and wedged it together. But they launched a super cool NFT game called Illuvium, and the Illuvium like family and ecosystem is like super supportive of Universe. Like they're even talking about like doing a lot of their drops on there, seeing how they can integrate our technologies. And I mean, it's a successful project already. Like they just raised like $45 million in a balancer IDO out of Australia. So like, and their original seed round was, like already 5 mil or something like that. So like they're super well capitalized. They have a really strong team. They're obviously super embedded in the synthetics community. Kane has been very successful in DeFi, and I think that his brothers will be successful in NFTs. So not only is it just a good strategic move for Universe, but also like the founders of that project have been super supportive of ours. So it's just probably the one on there that people might be like, what is Illuvium? But that's what it is.
Awesome. And then we're gonna have a USDC XYZ Sushi LP pool. That's our way you could get XYZ tokens. And the last one would be by staking within the DAO, and you're gonna get rewards for it. So those, did I miss anything, Tar, or did I cover all the ways of distributing token?
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Hey, I have one
Cool.
question just on timelines comparatively to how we did it for Barn Bridge. I do remember when we first started yield farming, we had to wait on the DAO, but partially it was because we were still auditing and finishing it. Are we going to launch the governance in the DAO faster this time around than we did for Barn Bridge? Because I believe it was a month after.
Yeah, so that is great. The only thing that's gonna come a little bit after is just gonna be the LP pool, because you first need a token. Just want to make that clear. But yes, in this case, we're going to like go ahead with the DAO and the yield farming, launching it together. So that's that. Yep.
Nice.
And in terms of like timelines to touch on that, like the same aspect. Well, on that like topic right there. I think as you kind of like pointed out, like the rebranding was like like a small setback, I'd say, because just some changes need to be done. But plus one, like everyone, like I really love the new brand, to be honest. It's awesome. So not like a bad one. But in this case, we're looking over the next 2 weeks to roll that out. We're currently like we deployed on testnet. We're testing all the stuff right now. We're setting up the pipeline. So we're just like we're getting everything ready to make sure that we have like a smooth launch. And 2 weeks from now is going to be out.
Nice. That is so exciting, to be honest.
Yep.
It's ready. It's been almost 3 months since we minted an NFT. I think the last we minted was February 28th. So thank you all for being so patient with us. I mean, it really is the community sticking with us, and we're doing it for you guys, and we're getting really excited to launch because like I said, it's been 3 months. We want to get stuff in front of you guys. And honestly, the NFTs are looking sick. The update as of yesterday is we have 2 planets fully done and ready to mint. So that means we have 46 characters of 69 completely done and ready. Al has finished the first of mini comics, and we have a lot of them written, but one is completely done and ready to go. So it's it's just really exciting to see that, you know, it took a little bit of time, but you know, it's finally coming into fruition, and y'all are all finally going to get to see what we've been working on the last 3 months, which is really exciting. And also, one other thing I'd love to mention is, if anyone is not familiar with BarnBridge and how the yield farming and how the DAO kind of works, do you have a MetaMask wallet? You don't have to have Bond to go into the BarnBridge, you know, governance and DAO, but that is a lot how it's going to look. So if you want to start getting familiar with governance and how that kind of stuff works, you can just go to the BarnBridge website, launch the app, and kind of start playing around. We did launch the BarnBridge app like a week before for people to get familiar with it. I don't know if we're going to do that this time with XYZ because people are already kind of familiar and we already have that out. So my advice is, if you haven't checked out BarnBridge and you want to kind of get like ahead of the game and kind of learn about that, best place to do it would probably be the BarnBridge DAO. And also, just one bit of advice for the yield farming, because people may want to know this. The way the BarnBridge yield farming claiming works is it's individually per pool. So like if there's 7 tokens that you're going to be farming for XYZ, if you are in the Aave pool, you're going to have to claim via the Aave pool and the bond pool. So I just want to throw that out there, so people are aware of that. You're going to have to claim, you know, if you put 7 tokens in.
Yeah, for gas fees, you might be better off just all aping into, like, basically, I mean, that's going to also be kind of game theory along with the, what do you call it? Along with the like Dr. Opium thing, is that basically, I mean, you'll have tax consequences for selling. So like like there's other places that you can stake, like sushi, for instance, to make like an interest rate. So like you'll be battling against that. And then also, like, I mean, you probably, if you have like low amounts, like you probably don't want to just drop like $10 into 7 pools, because the gas costs are probably going to be higher than what your claim is. So like for smaller stacks, like you probably just want to put it all into one, like pick one and stick with it. And then yeah, so we will release like docs for that. Like that stuff really isn't on the BarnBridge app. So like, I don't think you'll see that. There's really like a lot of that's stuff we've already like relegated
kind of
away. But
ended.
yeah, but we'll release documentation. I think there's only so much like advice we can give, because like we're the ones launching the tokens. Like I don't want to advertise like how to game it or get people into talking about kind of things that get us into tricky, like just stuff my lawyer his head would explode if he heard us talking about it. Not this. I'm more talking about the questions that are going to come in Discord. So just know, like, we're going to release documents, and y'all will know the parameters, and there won't, like, we'll be super clear about it. Like we have been on everything that we've done on other projects. Like, we believe in transparency, but it's ultimately up to you, the user, to figure out what your plan of attack is. The core team is not going to help the entire community or individual members in it figure out how to develop a game theory strategy on how they want to like attack the yield farming. I don't even think we really should talk about it. On top of it would just be a pain in the ass, and we don't have time. But the bigger part is that I don't think that we should be talking too much other than the documents, and we will tell everybody how it works. It's up to you to figure out what your plan of attack is.
Exactly. Okay, so I think that really wraps up most of what we have for the day. One thing I'd like to mention about the NFTs, I know I'm saying that they're very, very close to being done, but they are not going to be launching right away with the website. I just want to make that clear. We're really trying our best to get them launched as fast as possible. But really,
there will be things that launch though quickly. Like Tim has a ton of artists that have been looking to launch on the platform. Like I've actually been like, just because of, well, the actual platform of like auctions and minting is not going to launch with the DAO and all of that anyway. So like we are going to be all hands on deck. Like a lot of the front end is coming together and getting done, but like we still have a lot of work to do there. So I just want to set everyone's expectations that like that's not launching in May at a minimum, right? Like that, I know that it will not, like the auction and minting will not launch in May. But there's two different types of auctions that happen on Universe. There are core drops, which the DAO basically incentivizes like people to make like really cool things, whether it's artists, whether it's like us creating code that will show like bonding curves, whether it's we're working on one project that we're a little bit like hush hush about with like the Lime Chain team, that there's actually like software and code involved that's gonna do something with these NFTs that I'm 100% sure no one's ever done before. And like these things, like the creative stuff, like the imagery, all of that type of stuff, like let's say there's music, like anything from a core drop will be released Creative Commons. And then like all of the software will be open sourced, right? That's for core drops, right? Like just XYZ DAO core drops. If someone else comes into the platform, let's say just a wonderful artist or someone that has like a creative idea, or I'm a part of like Pleaser DAO and I'm very much going to try to push them into using some of our stuff to like long-term build some of their like communities in there. That's more, I guess, when the social stuff comes out. But like Tim, like he's doing all that Genesis grant stuff and is like working with Paris Hilton. I know that like Blau has a lot of projects that essentially want to start working with us. Like Dylan Francis has been asking me. On the other side of the equation of like all of those core contributors that I don't even think the community even knows who all of them are at this point, like Kevin Rose of True Ventures, who started Dig, like the guys, one of the guys on the Diem Foundation, like they hit me up like regularly saying like, oh, I have this massive media corporation that wants to talk to you, like this massive media corporation. Like those groups obviously aren't going to put their IP onto into like the DAO being ownership of. So like for artists that come in, like that's all off chain, like intellectual property, right? So like if a company like, not Disney, because I'll just use Disney because I literally haven't talked to Disney. So that's an easy one. If Disney goes and mints on and puts like a Mickey Mouse thing on there, like their code for if they do something awesome, and then like their like characters like Mickey Mouse, like those aren't going to be open source. And those probably aren't, like they're not going to release the IP on the platform. So that we're creating an area, but that's their off chain, like they deal with that. That's not something that we need to be handling as a decentralized organization. We don't even have the teeth to go after, right? So like that's their job and role and responsibility, as well as the artists, right? Like if you mint something on the platform and there's a dispute over it, like that's an off-chain dispute. Like we don't have those on-chain mechanisms at this point to fight that battle for you. So the easiest way to think about this is our core drops, like when those launches, when they're ready, and we're building all this other stuff, and there's going to be like code that goes into even the characters and the comics, and like there's a potential that even this Lime Chain one that I don't want to get into too many details about could even launch before it. But that is very separate from like the ability for people to come in and launch auctions on the platform. that's going to be like a person by person basis that us as the DAO will need to set up parameters on how, I mean, that's going to be the first thing that goes into governance other than some of the yield farming stuff. I can just tell you in advance that it's going to be like, people are going to want to come on and they're going to want to launch on this platform. And I think there's going to be a gap between when the auction and minting launches and when the DAO launches, where we'll have a little bit of time to figure out those parameters with the community, because we will have already started distributing the tokens out into the ecosystem. But that, like, not only are there people in the community that want to do drops with us, there's people externally, and then there's big fish that want to do stuff with us. So I would just say get ready. I mean, it's going to be fun, but that's not something that I think that we need to figure out on this call. And for the timing of like the characters that we've been working on, that's very much TBD. Like, we've got a lot of stuff that we're launching simultaneously. So I just don't want to commit to that for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, we also don't want to leak any of the info about all our other NFT projects y'all won't know about yet. But all right, so I think that's all we have for the day. And then so we can go and answer some of these questions you guys have in the project calls. So Windocs, it looks like is what y'all are asking a bunch, but we already answered that. So let's just pass that question and we'll go on to the next. Resistance asks, are we thinking about any L2 solutions for NFU? Yes, we are. But that is making things a little bit complicated. We've looked at Matic. We're thinking about Definity. It's just the timeline of getting those things connected to our contracts gets a little hazy. Troy, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. I know you have a lot more.
Actually, so Tim brought up a really good idea though. If you're able to mint and then almost spam people for like $1 on layer 2 with NFTs, how we display those and also how we like categorize them is a big issue. So it's something that I think could be a really good like conversation to have with the community around this, because it seems like there will be probably abuses of layer 2s on a certain level for NFTs, in the same way that there are abuses of cheap email. So everyone will kind of get spammed. It's definitely just something I think the community should be aware of and kind of start thinking about. But we don't have a final solution on any of that yet. So mainnet, first of all, the price is a barrier of entry, and that is a good thing. And we'll just leave it at that.
Especially for more expensive NFTs. Like if you're like, let's say that like a massive like Blau's thing that he sold like $12 million of whatever it was like 2 months ago, right? Or like that Beeple that someone bought for like 70 mil, like you want that on main chain Ethereum. Like that's 100,000% where you want that. So I think there's going to be like variability in like the purpose and point, but I mean, Troy and Tim are right. Like minting an NFT on an L2 does devalue the NFT. I think that for like gaming purposes, there's going to be functions for everything, right? But like we're not even there with NFTs yet, but like that will come. So I mean, we definitely need to be able to have it on mainnet, and we are talking and working with L2 solutions about NFTs as well. So like a couple, I mean, we're talking with the Immutable team, which I think uses ZKs. We're talking to Polygon. We've obviously we're looking very deep into Definity, like their CTO is a contributor and helps seed the project. I mean, that's a side chain. So is Polygon. When Optimism comes out, we'll look at it. Obviously, Uniswap just launched and they have a lot of NFT capabilities and they're pretty in bed with Optimism. But as we build the basis of what we're building, like those things, like we have to look at those, right? But we haven't made solidified decisions on that. The NFT landscape and the L2 landscape is evolving simultaneously at the same time at breakneck speed. And I think that it's wise for us as we're building to watch, but we need to build the mainnet Ethereum first.
Well said. I agree 100%. So to move on from that question, ETH Flenders has a question about yield farming. He's asking if it's going to be similar to Barnbridge. He said obviously it would be USDC KEK, but it'll be USDC XYZ now.
The answer to that's just yes.
Yeah, and then he follows and says, will it be once per epoch? So I know there was some conversation of us doing epochs or continuous. Are we still going with the epochs?
That's a Dragos question, but I think the answer is yes, that Milad thinks that we need to wait a week. You have the epoch is partially to help with chaos of like, if it's continuous when it first starts, it's pretty chaotic. But then also the bigger thing is like, you have to have skin in the game in order to like get something. Like this isn't free, or like you're just giving away the token, then it's worthless. So like part of the mechanism of the timed epochs isn't this like time dump that everybody complained about with Barnbridge. It's that it is partially what people have to put skin in the game to actually get it and work for it, which is the thought process between it. But it's up to Dragos and Milad whether they do it continuous or with epochs.
And even with the skin in the game topic, Tyler, right there, right? So the earlier you stake in the epoch, the more reward you're gonna get towards the end of it, right? So if you stake, unstake, and then stake again, you're not gonna get same reward because you've done that like kind of stake during the middle of the epoch. So that's sort of like the idea. Skin in the game, bigger reward. So.
Yep, nice. So yeah,
it looks like there's one more question, and I actually have been getting this question more and more, and I think maybe it is good to address it just so people stop asking. But there's been a ton of like alt punk projects. We're seeing a bunch of people do like Picasso everything. Like when you see a project drop, you'll see a Picasso or an alt, of these projects drop. We've had some people reaching out about doing like 3D NFTs and doing all this stuff. We are not giving permission to do anything with that because we don't have permission to give anybody. So just the answer is no. We're not affiliated. We're not doing that, and we don't even have the right to tell you that that's okay. So
yeah, literally, like you can't mint NFTs on the platform. Like, I mean, if the community allows it when it's decentralized, I can't stop it. But it's like, I mean, I literally just want to do a lawsuit over that. So like if Matt Fury wants to launch like Pepe's on the platform, that's fine. If people want to do artistic renditions of Pepe, like then that's, don't call it Pepe. But that's really up to y'all. Like if someone draws an oil painting of a frog, then it's up to you to deal with that. That's kind of what we were talking about earlier. I think that at scale though, Tim, I think the two best people on our team that are going to probably help shape this are going to be Tim and Troy on like, this is what I was talking about earlier, that when there's going to be a gap where we launch the DAO and the yield farming first and all of the auction and minting stuff comes later, we will probably have some stuff like lined up, but how we figure out the governance components of that are TBD. But I think that it's going to start like a little more gated where we have like approved drops and then core drops. But there will be like a quality point where like hopefully long term the community governance can get to the point that, you know, anybody can come in like rareable, and it's not like as difficult as like going and dropping something on super rare. But we're gonna have to have like some aspects of quality control on the front end, even just for like child pornography and like Nazi paraphernalia. So like that, the ability for the community to come in and launch NFTs will be established like before we launch, and we're gonna have to have conversations about that. But like Tim in particular is going to be concerned if like anybody can just come do whatever on the platform. Like that's why Rarible sucks. I mean, sorry if someone in our community is like works for the Rarible team. They're a good team. I think they're improving it. They launched ahead of everybody else and they're fixing stuff about their platform. But I mean, that's why eBay sucks. Like you don't know what's real. It's like it's chaos. So we don't have that figured out, but we will, and we're going to work with the community on it. So let's just leave it at that.
Nice. Okay, well, I think that we can wrap this up. I think that's everything from questions in the Discord, and I think we wrapped up everything on our agenda for today's call. So, I mean, does anybody have anything else to mention or add?
Just that Milad's here now. So what's up?
Yeah, Milad, you want to say what's up to the XYZ team? Milad, like our dad. He just like takes care.
I was on mute, sorry about that.
There's
I'm
some
just, like,
serious
walking
alpha
through the-
leaks happening in that kitchen right now.
No, nothing being talked. Nothing being talked. There you go. That's all you're gonna see.
All right,
Thank you
guys.
for tuning in and listening to us. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks for our next project call. And hopefully by then we'll have a lot more goodies for y'all to check out.
Yep.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
You guys.
Later.